No, is there a recording started? Okay, great. So this next presentation has to do with the Unlearning Undoing White Supremacy and Racism project that this board is undertaking to participate on. As the background, a couple of years ago, the board passed the Governance Reconciliation Framework to really highlight what the board has resolved, what they were going to do in terms of Indigenous reconciliation work. This is something that I think we in public health and at this board that we've all believed very strongly on, because colonization, racism, and white supremacy are all social determinants of health. They all bias people and prevent people from being able to access their full health opportunities. And they're things that we want to address so that people can all have equal opportunities to health. As part of the Unlearning and Undoing White Supremacy and Racism project, there's really 4 components to it. So there's 3 elements that are really about knowledge acquisition, and then there's a 4th, the interaction component. The first one is cultural competency training. The second is foundational obligations to Indigenous peoples. The third is thinking intersectionally, and those are the 3 knowledge acquisition elements. And the 4th one is the Unlearning Club, which is more interactive. So the Unlearning Club is what board members are participating in after today's meeting and to begin with after the previous meeting as the interactive component. In terms of those 3 knowledge acquisition elements, cultural competency training was previously provided, and foundational obligations to Indigenous peoples is what we are actually commencing today with this presentation. So the purpose of these foundational obligations is to deepen understanding of systemic racism, colonization, and the profound impacts that they've had on public health of Indigenous peoples. What we're going to do in this series is review some of the key reports that have been authored by or informed by Indigenous voices and that help inform the work that needs to be done around reconciliation. And there'll be a series of 4 of these presentations in the coming months around this topic. Today's is going to focus on the National Inquiry onto Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls and the report that came out of that, and really giving a highlight of that. And we've chosen to do this presentation during the board meeting time so that it can be recorded and this learning can then be made available to the population more widely. As a final comment before I hand over to our presenters is just to highlight today is May 15th, which is the day of the Moose Hide campaign. And that's an Indigenous-led grassroots movement to engage men and boys around ending violence towards women and children. You may have noticed that I'm wearing a piece of moose hide, and that's really myself taking the symbolic show of my commitment to ending violence against Indigenous women, girls, and to us LGBTQIA+ individuals. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to our presenters. So we have Sarah Rice, who is our Manager of Indigenous Public Health, and we have Alicia Boston, who's one of our 2 health promoters of Indigenous Public Health. I'll let them take it away.
Thank you much. So as Dr. Bridgie said, my name is Sarah Rice. So I'll start off by introducing myself in the way in which my kin have taught me to do so. So Sarah and the Hospital in Rojava is welcome on the dog. My name is Sarah Rice. I'm the Manager of Indigenous Public Health here at Health Separate Districts. I'm a member of Garden River First Nation, and my pronouns are she, her.
Ani, Alicia Indigenous, Segama Pindochba, Niswamakada. My name is Alicia Boston. My pronouns are she, her. I am a member of Segama Kanishnaabek, and I currently live in Sudbury. And as Dr. Hergy said, I'm one of the health promoters of Indigenous Public Health. So May 5th marked the National Day of Awareness for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Girls, and 2S LGBTQIA+ people, also known as Red Dress Day. Today, we're highlighting key findings from Reclaiming Power in Place, the executive summary of the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. As one of the foundational obligations for Indigenous peoples that tells us how to do the work of reconciliation and decolonize our systems.
The report was mandated to examine 1, all systemic causes of all forms of violence, and 2, institutional policies and practices implemented in response to violence. The report concludes that violence faced by First Nations, Inuit, and Métis women, girls, and 2S LGBTQIA+ people is not isolated or accidental, but rather genocide, grounded in Canada's colonial systems and structures. Policies like the Indian Act, residential schools, and the 60s scoop created and continue to fuel systemic harm and intergenerational trauma. This conclusion isn't abstract. It's grounded in the voices of over 2,380 people, including survivors, family members, and knowledge keepers who shared their truths through hearings, private sessions, and artistic expressions. The report calls all of us to action through 231 calls for justice. 3 sections are especially important in the work that we do here at Public Health. So first is for all governments. There's a need for coordinated rights-based policies that dismantle systemic barriers and promote Indigenous self-determination. 2, for health and wellness service providers. We must offer culturally safe, trauma-informed care rooted in respect, not colonial assumptions. That means committing to anti-racism and anti-colonial thinking, training, and uplifting Indigenous healing practices. And finally, for all Canadians, everyone has a role. This includes confronting harmful narratives, learning real histories, and standing up against injustice. Connecting this to what we are all learning in the first month of the Unlearning Club, Dr. Camara Jones reminded us this month, racism is inaction in the face of need. Call for Justice 15.3 asks us all to develop knowledge and read the final report. Listen to the truths shared and acknowledge the burden of these human and Indigenous rights violations and how they impact Indigenous women, girls, and 2S LGBTQIA people today. We all have a responsibility to act. To do this, we must inform ourselves and become vocal allies. This means actively denouncing violence and speaking out about the systemic harms faced by Indigenous women, girls, and 2S LGBTQIA+ people. To be effective allies, we do this by following through with the calls to justice presented in the document. We are already on this path forward as we have committed to the Unlearning Project.
So the red dress has become a powerful visual symbol, but its roots lie in art installation by the artist Jamie Black called the Redress Project in 2010 at the University of Winnipeg. The installation featured empty red dresses suspended in public and private spaces, representing the absence of thousands of Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people who have gone missing or been murdered in Canada. As the installation gained attention, it inspired the Red Dress campaign, which is a broader movement aimed at raising awareness and demanding justice.
So why do we at Public Health observe Red Dress Day? If you've driven by this location or any of our district offices on May 5th, you may have noticed a red dress hanging from a window. Our Indigenous engagement strategy and governance reconciliation framework commits us to working together with area Indigenous peoples and communities to collaboratively strengthen public health programs and services for all. We cannot fulfill our vision or our Indigenous engagement mission while Indigenous women, girls, and 2S LGBTQIA+ people continue to face violence at alarming rates. According to 2023 Statistics Canada report, Indigenous women are 6 times more likely to be murdered than non-Indigenous women, despite making up only 5% of the population. And on a more personal note, Alicia and I wanted to share that as members of the Indigenous community, we see a number of young Indigenous people whose families post that they are missing in this area. Our Facebook feeds regularly have pleas for information as to the whereabouts of missing people. This is a very real issue in our service area, not just like a distant or this abstract concern that doesn't impact our communities. This is a public health emergency and a human rights crisis.
So it can be difficult talking about these upsetting truths, but acknowledging and speaking out is so important. Here are some tips for talking about missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and 2S LGBTQIA+ people. Approach this topic with care, respect, and clarity. When discussing this national tragedy, keep these principles in mind. Be respectful and human-centered. Speak about people, not just statistics, or issues. Center the lived experience of survivors, families, and communities. Use the full term when appropriate. When speaking or writing for a broad audience, begin with the full phrase, missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and 2S LGBTQ QIA plus people. You may abbreviate after defining it. Avoid euphemisms or vague language. Name the violence clearly and acknowledge the systemic nature of it. This is not just a tragedy, it is an ongoing injustice. Recognize this is not historical, but current. This violence is not just part of the past, it continues today and demands present day solutions. By educating ourselves, honoring truth, and speaking out, we can all help build a safer, more just future for Indigenous women, girls, and 2S LGBTQIA plus people.
Well, Chini Wetch, we hope that learning about this issue has inspired you to dive deeper into claiming power and place, the final report of the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. The executive summary gives many recommendations, 31, for how all levels of government and bureaucracy and Canadians can take action. Wetch.
Thank you. Behind every one of those social posts, we speak of as a person and a family. And I think I even begin to appreciate the impact of all of those, affected by their missing. And again, we only learned of a fraction of what I believe is what actually is happening. So thank you for that presentation and acknowledge the importance of, speaking about this and acknowledging that. I look to members of the board if you have any questions. Comments. Sure.
I just want to say to both of you, thank you for your courage, your bravery and your truth to bring what is a international crisis to the forefront. I think it's everybody's responsibility to do some form of action to it. I think one of those initiated is just to read the facts and to say their name, because it's happening on a regular basis and it's not something off of a movie set. It's real life that we're dealing with on a daily basis within our community here, our nationhood. And I just want to thank you both for your leadership and again, your courage, your truth, your honesty, all those 7 grandfathers that guide us. And we give ultimate thanks to the ancestors and hope that they're looking over those missing ones to bring them back home to their families safely. So to me, much for that.
See no one online. Thank you. Send the question.